The narcissist's secret family member. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Narcissists engage in many deceitful, duplicitous, and secretive behaviours. Some narcissists are upfront and in your face. They don't give a damn about what goes on because their style of narcissism functions that way. They're invariably your lessers. Mid-range narcissists behave in a more covert fashion because their narcissism demands that of them. They don't think to the future, but rather they are mindful, for instance, that if they're having an affair, that they don't actually experience any guilt or remorse or conscience. After all, the narcissism persuades them that what they're doing is legitimate because their wife doesn't put out any longer, or their wife is horrible to them, so this is their way of finding some solace. No, but they don't do it in an obvious manner because their narcissism recognizes that it would cause a threat to control for them. And therefore, because the narcissism is geared to ensure that control is asserted over both the affair partner and the current intimate partner primary source, that the best thing to do is not gallivant around town making it obvious that he's having an affair, but engage in secretive and covert behaviours. That way he can have the affair with the intimate partner secondary source of the shelf variety, asserting control over that person each and every time he takes her off the shelf, and it doesn't disrupt things on the home front, so that he can move between those two worlds, spending time in hotel rooms and going out for secretive dinners with the affair partner, but also ensuring that the family life carries on in the way that it has done so, and presenting a facade of being a decent family man to the outside world. Thus the narcissism functions in that way, and it is often the case that with certain narcissists, they can have children with other people that they don't tell you about. That you enter into a relationship with them, and it's never mentioned at all that they have got another child or children. They may go on to have a family with you, but still nothing is said about the secret son or daughter that occurs elsewhere. A situation arose as of late where somebody posed this very scenario to me, whereby they explained that following their father's demise, they had learned that they had a half-brother that they knew nothing about. That it wasn't until certain papers and formalities had to be undertaken that it came into being that there existed another son. The mother didn't know that her husband had another child. He was never ever spoken about. There never appeared to be any communication between father and son. Interestingly, the two sons that he had were given the same name, albeit slightly different, because one was said in a particular way in country A and said in a different way in country B. So, for instance, it was a little like if they were called Peter, they would be called Pedro in Spain. Thus, the narcissist had given his sons essentially the same name, demonstrating the objectification that goes on. But the individual concerned was, how on earth did my father never speak of this other child? Even when he would be roaring drunk, his tongue would not be loosened to give the game away. How was it that he had this secret family member and remained so secret? Well, the reason being is that for a lot of the time, contrary to what people believe, the narcissist is not thinking about you. Many people who are victims of the narcissist, particularly those in a romantic setting, think that the narcissist is perhaps wailing and bemoaning the fact that you've ended the relationship with them. Yes, the narcissist will do so to other people, But there's nothing to be served by the narcissist sitting at home crying about you ending the relationship. They may tell you that they've been crying, but the narcissist will not sit on their own doing that because it simply does not serve any purpose, and the narcissist will not allow it to happen. Furthermore, the narcissist is not going to sit there and think about his secret son, because what does that do? It might be, for instance, that the son pops onto the narcissist's radar for a moment, a random thought, or something has caused the narcissist to remind himself of his secret son. But the narcissist will also determine, is it appropriate to get in touch with him, yes or no? And may well readily reach the conclusion that a direct hoover is not going to meet with success. And because the narcissism is a self-defense mechanism, does not take the narcissist in that direction, so it doesn't happen. The narcissism also recognizes that there is no point saying to his spouse, for instance, oh, I was just thinking about my son, da-di-da-di-da, I wonder how he's getting on with, and she's thinking, who on earth is he talking about? Our son doesn't work at that place, because unbeknownst to her, it's the secret son. Remember, the narcissism's job, as by the first law of narcissism, is to get all appliances under control and keep them under control. And therefore, it means getting the narcissist's son under control, but keeping control over the spouse as well. And therefore, it's not going to direct the narcissist to engage in conduct which might get control over the son, but by the same token, result in the loss of control over the spouse. It's just not going to go down that route. And therefore, in such a scenario, what's likely to happen is that the narcissist just rejects and jettisons the thought about the son. No point getting in touch with him. He's never bothered with me for years. Bumph, jettison. Remember, you as a non-narcissist keep in touch with people driven by your emotional empathy. Even when your children are grown up, you maintain a contact with them because you recognise that it's the right and decent thing to do. You like to know what they're doing. But remember, the narcissist is only driven by what's in it for them, the prime aims, control, fuel, character traits and residual benefits. And if the narcissism sees that it's easier to stay away from that non-intimate secondary source, and on the few occasions that they pop up into their head, just dismiss them, then that is what it will do. It doesn't need fuel from that person, nor character traits, or nor residual benefits. So much of the time, the reason why this secret son was never mentioned was because the narcissist simply wasn't even thinking about them. Your emotional empathy causes you to keep family members and friends, etc. in mind. It doesn't for the narcissist. Do you sit there and think about the tin of beans that's in your cupboard? No, you don't. In the same way, why would a narcissist keep thinking about an appliance? The narcissist only does so when it's necessary to do so for the purpose of the prime aims. And therefore, with that secret son, because he was compartmentalized, he rarely came up on the radar of the narcissist, meaning that when he was several sheets to the wind drunk, he never even let slip of the existence of a secret son, because he didn't form in his mind. Remember, he has no conscience. There is no burden that he needs to get off his chest that with copious amounts of whiskey might cause him to think there's something I need to tell you. Where a narcissist might engage in such behaviour, appearing to want to relieve guilt, it's simply an appearance. It's part of false contrition, the exhibiting of a pity play by the narcissist in order to, of course, get the prime aims. But moreover, that secret son simply doesn't exist in the way that the ex doesn't exist or the friend doesn't exist. And if you don't exist, how can you be thought of? And if it's rare that the secret son comes up on the radar of the narcissist, there's no scope for the secret son to ever be mentioned. Hence, why the narcissist remains so quiet about them. And where they do come up on the radar, the narcissism has to ensure that their existence does not affect existing control over other appliances. Hence, nothing is said, and they are jettisoned. Accordingly, where this individual wanted to understand why is it that nothing had been said about this secret son for so many years, it is entirely as a product of the behaviour of a narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.